You know, psychics and fortune tellers are really big in Korea. When I was there, they were like on every corner.
Well, bitch, let's go talk to the general then.
Hi guys, I'm Lael.
And I'm Courtney.
And welcome to our new All the Drama podcast, where two best friends talk about
Korean,
Japanese,
Thai,
and Chinese dramas. So sit back and listen while we rant and ramble about the scenes that made us cry, laugh, and squeal with excitement.
Now, girl, tell me all the drama.
Aight. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're discussing Perfect Marriage Revenge, and you can watch that on Viki right now.
Korea is coming in hot with the revenge dramas. So the basis of this series is another go back in time revenge. We've actually covered one of those with Marry My Husband in our very first episode of our podcast.
Right. I know, while they might seem similar, I think they're actually more different than the same, but we will get back into that later in the podcast. But now let's get into the characters. So firstly, we have the main character, Iju. And poor baby was freaking traumatized in that house, but she still came out strong as fuck.
I love how strong of a character she becomes and the character development that is actually portrayed to us. I really, really enjoyed being able to see a glimpse of how she was prior to her death and how quickly she develops into a badass that just takes names.
Right? But here's this one thing I noticed. And there are these moments where I may, not have seemed against her family. But with others, she, held her ground. Like, in the beginning with her stepmom, she does kind of take what she gets from her stepmother. But, I still feel like she does talk back a little bit. And she does hold her ground. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, I 1000% agree. And then the next one on our list is Sodoguk.
Oh my god, boy, I don't even have words for him. Look, you got the man from Marry My Husband. I get this one. This one's mine.
That's fine. I would be happy with either in this case, but he is literal perfection, and that the fact that he loved her so long prior to dying, prior to traveling back in time, I can't even.
Look, he is just so respectful and willing to do anything for her. The way he fights for her, and he's on her side no matter what. She definitely needed someone like that in this life. So after him, the next on the list is Yusa Hook, the trash ex-fiance. Okay, so unpopular opinion, but based on the drama, I feel like he kind of redeemed himself. I know, that's why I said unpopular opinion. I know he was acting like self-interest, but at least he didn't do much more harm than he could have, because I remember in the webtoon, and mind you, it's probably been a minute since I read it, but I feel like he was way more of a trash person in the webtoon. In the drama, he kind of backed off a little bit.
I've never read the webtoon, so I'm coming from this solely just watching the drama, but from what I've seen in the drama, I disagree completely with the redemption arc. I think he's slime with no backbone all the way up to the very end. And I absolutely love the ending that he gets. He gets the ending he deserves, for sure.
Oh, I love the ending they gave him. It was completely justified.
And speaking of his ending, we can actually talk about her sister Yura. I also think the ending they give her is absolutely the best form of justice that could happen to her. And I love that she gets stuck with Sehuk in the end. They're literally made for each other, and they both get the endings that they deserve.
Agree, again. But here's the thing. I don't feel as if she was a good villain in this. She didn't give off the same vibes as Sumin from Marry My Husband, but I don't think she was supposed to. I think that was the mom, but, even though she was in the same role as, best friend, sister kind of area, I feel like it should have been her, but it wasn't.
I agree, and I think I mentioned this. I think I'm planning to mention this a bit later in our podcast. But first of all, I don't think anyone could top Sumin. Sumin's character, her villainy, her everything was phenomenal, top-notch villain. Probably one of my favorite villains we've had to date in a series. But I think, like you said, Yura, it doesn't match up to her vibe, and I think that's because Yura isn't our main villain. I feel like Yura plays more of a side villain, and more so, I don't even view her as a villain in this. I mostly view her as someone who has a severe victim complex. You know, she's just a spoiled brat that's focused on needing to have everything better and more than her sister does. So when it comes to the villainy that we see, even though they're both in sister-like roles, Yura is definitely not the main villain here. She does not give main villain vibes. I agree with you 1000% on that. That relates back to her mother.
You know, we know who the real villains are here then. It's the stepmom and the dad. Okay? And the dad, let's be real here. But let's start with Lee Jung-hee, the stepmom.
See, now she, like I said, she has villain game 100%. She's definitely on par, more so with Soo Min in Marry My Husband, because again, they both play that very, the main villain. They're main villains. And you know what? This stepmother is a true villain to the core. And what I mean by that is we don't just have an evil stepmother situation here. We have an attempted murderess, kidnapping, embezzlement, fraud. She's literally everything bad about a person you can find in this person.
So spot on with that analysis. I hated her, but the actress played that character almost too good. Like,
oh, so good.
it was
so good,
real good. But you know what? I like how they made the villain to be an actual rival to the main character. Even though Iju came from the future and knew everything, she still had to, like, use her brain power. She wasn't just predicting everything.
Battle.
Yeah, it was really a battle. But I will say, whoever dressed the mother, the stepmom in this drama, her stylist, deserves a raise.
Her outfits were so spot on with her character, too. They were very chic and gorgeous, but they also had a crisp coolness to them that I feel like really, really stuck with her. Whoever did the styling in general for this drama series was just on point. Because if you notice, whenever there's like big moments, those kind of battle moments between her stepmom and Do-guk's mom, and even her versus her stepmom, they all come in hot with the outfits they're wearing. Mm-hmm. They all, you know, they're styled to perfection. Like, it's almost like their type of armor, and I just love it.
That's a really good comparison. But low-key, how the fuck was she able to poison everyone and get away with it? I don't know. You know, she was giving them pills. Where the hell is she getting those pills from?
Thank you.
Anyway.
I don't get that either.
You have to get a prescription for those with how, like,
Oh,
strict Korea is with, you know, drugs and pills. I mean, if you really got money, you can do anything, I guess.
I think that's the root of it, is the fact that when you have money, you literally can do anything. And on top of that, she was in a household that she ran. Like, no other adult in that household was keeping her in check or even cared enough to keep an eye on her and what she was doing.
Anyway, moving on. The dad, Han Ji-won. Look, I may hate the mom for abusing Iju. Like, that's unexcusable. But I will never forgive the dad for just watching it when he had the power to stop it.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I 100% agree, and I actually take a serious issue with the redemption arc they do try to give this man at the end. If anything, I blame him just as much, if not more, for sitting back and watching this abuse take place. He knew exactly what was going on, and even admits to his dad in participating in the neglect, all because he felt bad for relating more to his adoptive daughter than his quote-unquote real daughter.
Look, I don't understand how Yeju is fine with keeping him in her life and building a bond with him. Like, I hold grudges. I would never be able to get past what he did. And a lot of the guilt he's presenting is only because he found out that she was his real daughter, not because he genuinely feels bad for treating her the way he did.
I feel like the main issue I have with this character was never really fully addressed. And it's the way he treated this child. It wasn't okay, and what he did was also a form of abuse. He should feel guilty for his actions. But my issue is, the way they portray this is that he feels guilty because it turned out she was his biological daughter. And the issue is, you should feel guilty no matter if she was your bio daughter or not.
Yeah, we get into that, like, more when we discuss a a little bit of the ending or closing remarks, but no, 100% they make it seem that suddenly because she was blood related it wasn't okay. And I have a major issue with that. If you're going to sit there and tell me that you're going to be okay with a child being abused because she's not DNA blood related to you is horrible. I don't know any other way to say that, but it's horrible. So like I agree with you 100%. She may be the obvious villain, but he's like the final boss villain. You know, the hidden villain. The last person in this family tree is the grandfather. And look, apparently he did some shitty things in his life. But at the very least, he was trying to help Iju the best that he can.
I agree. I do agree. I feel like this redemption arc, his, was the only one that actually really, truly worked for me. Yeah, he was a shitty person back in the day, and he did shitty things. But I feel like he was the only character that honestly tried to do better and do right by Iju. Mm-hmm. He bent over backwards to support her and also to make amends to her mother as well. And I can stand with a character who truly reforms and looks at their actions and generally wants to be better. I can stand behind that type of character. I can't stand behind a character like her dad. I just can't.
Like, yeah, the grandfather really did try to make amends for what he did. And I saw his sincerity. The dad, no. So now on to Sodoguk's family. I just love his family. I think it's one of my favorite families so far in the dramas that we've watched.
I absolutely adore the women in his family, especially his grandmother. His grandmother is such a tough but loving matriarch.
And she got style.
She does.
That ear cuff, I wanted that so bad. And I'm like, Grandma, you be rocking that. I love it.
I'm telling you, whoever... the designers they got for this drama were spot on. Everything was so chic and hot and sophisticated, and
it matched their personalities of the characters very well.
That's what I was getting to. It did. It absolutely stuck with the characters, their designs. I'm in love with the designers for this.
But on a side note, the one thing that I want to mention is, so I love that his grandmother was the matriarch and she was in charge of everything. And I love how her son wasn't. Like, he was just like, chill. Doing his own thing.
He was a bit too chill, I feel like.
I feel like it's really funny. Like, I hate putting it into words like this, but this is the best way I can say it. But he almost felt like demasculated in a way.
The people who hold the power in this family are the women. They're extremely strong, powerful women. And so it doesn't surprise me that the men they end up with are more submissive in their roles, because I feel like they need that. I mean, look at his sister and her husband. I love their dynamic. You know, I feel like sometimes such strong, independent, fierce women need a man who can allow them to be that way.
Right, but here's the thing. I don't think the dad ever felt and I hate the word demasculine, but that was the only way that I can think of it in my head. But you're right, submissive in a way, but like, I wasn't mad at it. Like, it didn't feel like he was it
didn't feel over the top. It felt natural. Right. They're not pushovers. They're not weak. They offer
help when needed, but at the same time, they're like...
They let the women do their thing.
Right.
And I feel like Doguk is also a lot like that, where he is an extremely fierce character, but he offers the support that his woman needs to blossom into a fierce, independent woman like his mom and grandmother.
I think he got the best of both worlds, and going back to him, I think he's fierce like his mother and his grandmother, because he will go after what he wants. There's no doubt about that. He is a good businessman. But he also got his dad's submissive side, because we talk about it later, when he just like gives everything to Iju. A complete like merge of his mom and dad's personalities. He's not just one. He's not just him. He's not just her. He's both.
Now, see, he is both, but I feel like...
No, he is both, because his mom goes after the stepmom, and we talk about later. And then do you remember when he sits down and talks to, he talks to someone, I can't remember who, but he's like, if she goes after Iju, I'm going to kill her. I will kill her.
Oh, I forgot about... Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. I got you. I got you.
But then, like, you know, the scenes where he's just like, oh, he just bends into her. And I'm just like, oh.
He's submissive
Anyway.
for her. Like, and that's what I
Yes.
love, is that... I just love that. I adore that.
And we talked about mother. She's like, she's great.
She's amazing, too. Again, I mean, his mother is also tough as bones, but she loves her people so, like, with everything she has, including her stepson. I mean, all these years she's protected him in her own way, and I think that says a lot about her as a person, especially because she knew all this time what he did to her own son when they were kids and never called him out for it.
No, you're totally right. And that's, like, why I love his mom, because she was able to, like, you know, separate her kind of feelings. It was like, okay, this boy needs this. Even though it kind of hurts my son, like, she still thinks of him as family. And she did do all that she can for him, as a mother should, I feel like. And she made...
If you don't mind me, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's an interesting contrast to see both stepmothers in these situations.
Right.
And seeing how she truly did try to be a mother figure to him. Whereas Yijao never experienced that with her own stepmother.
Right. No, yeah. It's really fun seeing the differences that they do on both, like, anyway, stepchildren, adopted children. But she made sure she wasn't a bad mom to his half-brother. However, his half-brother still needs therapy. All right?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, no, seriously. Like, the amount of hatred this boy built up towards his own family, one that went out of their way to make sure he felt included time and time again, especially with his leg situation. And then to find out later on in the series that he caused that injury to himself, he truly gets what he deserves as well.
Yeah, he had major issues. I don't really know what else to say about him. Like, he was really suffering. And I get his issues. Like, I get feeling like no matter how much a family will make you feel belonged, you know, they had a loving mother, and a mother really is the glue. I'm going to say this, is really the glue in a family. Because you notice that the dad may have loved him, and the mom may have loved him, but it's nothing like knowing that your mom abandoned you and your dad wasn't really around. It seems like his dad loved him, but it wasn't shown in a way, I guess.
From what I gathered is he had this idea his whole life that his mom left but didn't leave him. Like, that she didn't abandon him.
Oh.
And I only know this because the scene where, at the end, where he's in jail and his father provides him the letter that his mom wrote, he's never seen that letter before. And it's in that moment that he realizes that she did abandon him. Okay. For some reason, and I don't know if it's because the dad was trying to protect him all his life, but he was never really told the full truth, that this woman, she abandoned you. And the one who kept you and took care of you was your father and his wife.
Right. And this is why you need to tell your kids everything. Stop
Absolutely.
keeping secrets from them. On a happy note, though, his sister was so cute. I love his sister and her relationship with the secretary.
I really love their relationship, too, and I love her. I have a special place in my heart for dramas that portray women like these women. Women who revel in their badassery and a bit of their psychoticness. I just absolutely love seeing strong female characters. I feel like we don't see that often in a lot of these dramas.
I agree, because she owns it. And it's very hard to make a character own it, but not in a way that makes her unlikable. I loved her. She could throw me against the wall and I'd be happy with it.
Exactly. Now, if it was her psychoticness, I can totally get behind. Right. Her psycho tendencies, love it. Sumin, no.
Right.
Like, both a little psycho in their own ways. But this homegirl, she has it in the good way.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain, but it's the good way. It's the
It's a
best
good
way
way.
you can say it. So, those are all the characters. Let's get into the opening scene.
Yeah, let's get up to scene. Okay, so the scene opens with us seeing that Yeju lives with her in-laws, and immediately we see that she is a major pushover when it comes to them. She's cleaning the whole house and cooking food for her mother-in-law and that woman's friends. They call her, they say, hey, I'm bringing my friends over, get everything in order in the house, and she does it. She takes their belittling remarks, says nothing, and after being belittled by her mother-in-law, she then provides her own credit card to her mother and says that they can buy more food if they don't like the food she cooked and spent her whole time preparing for them.
So here's where I mentioned before in the character analysis, because while she does take those remarks, and we do see her as a little bit of a pushover, like, I won't deny that, I still feel like she has enough backbone. Like, for example, when her mother-in-law was talking to her about her husband and getting him a new job and, hiring up in the company or whatever, she, like, looks at her mother-in-law and she's like, this is between me and my husband. We need to talk this out between me and him. And I like that. I like you see these little bit of strong moments where you see her kind of almost talk back, and it shows that despite growing up in the house that she grew up in, she refused to break.
Yeah, you make a really good point, and I think what we can see is that when it comes to people she loves,
When it comes to people she wants approval of. 'Cause she doesn't really
she
care
wants
about
her mother. She wants
Does
her
she?
mother's-in-law approval. Yeah. Oh yeah. You can. Yeah. She bends over backwards for everything else, but the moment she starts nagging about her son, that's when we see a bit of that spark that's been kind of beaten out of her for the most part. I like that you're right, that she does have a bit of a backbone. I think it's more so when it deals with people she cares about. Like, actually, like, she's protective of him because she loves him. And she loves him so much.
But she's also desperate for her family's love and
Yeah.
approval that she'll bend over backwards for them without
Yep.
standing up for herself. We also see her deep lack of self-confidence within her own family because, also in the opening scene, you see her talking. Also in the opening scene, you see her send a letter to a radio host. No, we're not do that. Okay. But we do see her deep lack of self-confidence with her own family by using the radio show to answer her submitted question. And I thought that was a very creative way to portray that side of her without telling us.
And she lacks, like you said, she lacks that self-confidence. So I feel like basically it's okay if they run all over her, but it's not okay if they do it to someone she loves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like the whole I can't stand up for myself, but I'll stand up for my best friend.
Yeah.
Or
Like,
something
you
like
can
that.
say mean things to me all day, but the moment you start talking about my girl, it's on. Like, I
fuck yeah.
totally, yeah.
It's on. I'll take your ass down. The fuck? But, so after we get this, radio show host answer, which, again, I kind of hated, because even though it did show her, deep lack of self-confidence, my first thought was like, this radio host doesn't even know what the heck she's talking about. She literally has no idea. Do not tell me.
Do you know those TikToks you see where, have you seen it, where they're like, you should go and reconnect with your mom, and someone like taps the mic and goes, this was not meant for our feed. Stay where you're at.
PSA announcement, do not listen to her. No, that was
This
my first
message was
thought.
not meant for us. And I agree with you. That was literally my first thought too, was this message was not meant for us.
Right. Or meant for her, really.
Yeah. But going off from there, the next major scene we have in episode 1 is when the two main leads meet for the first time. We see Yijo attempting to fix her painting in the gallery, and Doguk shows up behind her and comments on the painting, saying that he likes that type of painting style and the ones that are focused on realism. And at first she takes it as a compliment, because that's what it sounds like. I mean, she's just meeting this man for the first time. Why wouldn't it be a compliment? And then he proceeds to immediately call out how fake her painting is. And he goes, yeah, I love realism. I love paintings that portray something real, but in a totally fake way. And it totally, I mean, the amount of intensity he said this to her completely threw me off guard, because this is supposedly the first time they're meeting each other. So I knew instantly that something was up.
Well, I thought the same thing, because the way he looked at her with so much anger in his eyes and the intensity, and I really thought that he had already come back from the future and knew everything. Like, that's what I had thought. I'm like,
Same.
what's gonna happen? Because it sounded like he already knew her family dynamic. He knew a lot about her, but then we find out that it's not that. That he fell in love with her through a painting before he even met her, before even coming back in time.
Which is so swoon worthy. I mean, there are moments when you watch dramas that stick out to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we love these Asian dramas, because, you know, that's why we talk about them and love them so much. But there are certain dramas with certain moments that just stick with you. Like, you remember the first time watching it. I remember the first time watching her open that closet door and seeing her painting there. Oh my god.
That was a good scene. My favorite scene is in episode 6, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
In the same episode, in the end of episode 1, we get her death. This was after her mother accused her of being a counterfeit artist, and she's crying in her car, which is never a good thing. Don't cry in your car and drive at the same time.
Yeah, I've done it. I don't recommend it.
But she's crying in her car, and she turns around and she ends up hitting somebody, and then she dies. And this is where the difference is, because I believe in the webtoon, she instantly dies at the car crash scene. Mm-hmm. But in the drama, to add a little bit more flair, they make her still alive and on like...
and flair they added.
Yeah.
Like... They take her to the hospital. They do surgery on her, and basically the doctors come out and say she is too far gone right now to continue surgery. If we continue surgery, she's gonna die. So right now we're leaving her open, but leaving her comfortable until if she is able to become strong enough to finish surgery. And so they have her, covered up, but she's connected to all these machines. Her stepmother walks in and literally unplugs the machines.
Was it her, or was it the manager?
It was her. She unplugged the machines. She had her assistant plug them back in when she was done.
Okay, on a side note though, when somebody unplugs the machines, I believe in hospitals, doesn't there like an alarm go off to let them know that machines have been unplugged? There's always a backup.
I really hope so.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Never tested it.
Same.
But there are alarms that go off from just personal experience. There are alarms that go off if, like, for instance, you remove some of the wires. But the machine...
she unplugged the machine completely. That should have a backup or alarm, because no one came running.
Well, think about it. I don't know if they do. And listeners, if anyone's in the medical field, please add in your comments. But from what I understand, those machines move room to room. They're not stationary. So if you think about it, they may not have an alarm going off.
They don't have like a backup battery, because that would be smart.
I sure hope so.
But no one came running.
They did. It just took them a minute. It just took them a few seconds. Because what happened was, is he plugged her in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if he gave her the phone before or after, but he essentially plugged her in, waited a second, and then left. And as he was walking out, the doctors came running in.
Oh, felt longer than that.
It did. It did, but I don't think it was. I think it was more of the, we had that weird phone call with her grandfather, and,
Right.
So.
But damn, that stepmother's a heartless bitch.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But I have to give it to her, because she begs, and some god hears her and reincarnates this girl a year into the past, right?
Yep, 1 year from that date when she was just engaged to her,
Right.
her husband in the future.
Oh,
Before we go into
perfect.
that,
Okay.
I just want to mention, because the whole point of her coming back is what the words that her mother whispered to her as she was dying, which was,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
it was so epic because literally this whole thing happened because you told her, you were so heartless, you told her to not be so nice in the next life. So what does she do? She takes mother's advice. And I love
Mother
it.
knows best.
Mothers, I don't know. But yeah, then we can move on to the
No.
epic, and I mean epic breakup scene she has when she goes
Before we
back
move-
into the past.
All right, before we move on though, like I would say that this would be my petty ass revenge too. Like someone tells me, yeah, next time come back for revenge. I'm like, all right,
Don't be
bet,
so nice.
motherfucker.
Right,
Bet
exactly.
you
exactly.
issued a challenge. I'm about to deliver.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And in what a way she comes back.
Oh, yes. Okay, now we can really get into the breakup scene because what a visual! I absolutely love, like in Marry My Husband, we get her kind of freaking out, and that was really really realistic. But in this one, she takes like 2 seconds to understand what happened, and she's like, "All right, we're gonna go with it." She rips that dress and calls off that engagement so quick.
She doesn't so quick. She doesn't hold a single thing back, and I completely agree that the visual of her ripping that wedding dress was so incredibly powerful. It was like it symbolized freeing herself from not only this upcoming wedding, but from him as well, and from her own shit situation. And the fact that he chases after her and literally begs her not to call off the wedding, not because he's in love with her, but because he's too scared to tell his mommy.
No, it was completely pathetic. I mean, look, even at the fitting, he was on his phone. He wasn't paying attention to her. He looked so bored, but then he begs on his hands and knees to, offer her to not call off the marriage by staying at home and not going out with coworkers without her permission and actually doing the chores around the house.
Right, like the only things he could come up with, literally, the only things he could come up with, the only type of future he could offer her was, I promise to come home on time and do the chores. Not a single thing he mentioned was anything about attempting to love her.
And this is what kills me the most, is because not only did he love her sister more, right? The fact that he did not even love her, but still fought to keep her. I don't understand this. I'm like, did he realize he was about to lose the best thing in his life? Probably not. But it makes no sense. Like, let her go.
It
You
doesn't.
don't love her.
And I love that she ends up using the same hurtful words he said to her right before she died, and when he was asking for a divorce. Something along the lines where he never loved her, he only saw himself in her, someone who was so desperate to be loved, and at the end of the day, he got with her because he felt pity for her. And, gosh, what a power move on her end. I got so much satisfaction from her repeating those words back to him and seeing his face. Like, it was so epic to watch this woman, who was once so meek and pitiful, to essentially do a complete 180 in this moment and literally watch her turn into a revengeful goddess.
On 100%, that revenge goddess in that white gown. I agree. It was so satisfying. It was like a cherry on top of an already good-ass sundae, you know?
I don't know if this entails anything, but I love, again, this is another drama that uses so much symbolism, because if you notice, so many times when there's an upcoming battle or a major power move happening, look at what they're wearing. They're always dressed in white. You see, they are. You see it with Yizhou. You see it with the stepmothers when they go at each other.
Yeah.
Even
You're right.
You see it when, even with Doguk's sister, I think there's one scene where she's dressed all in white and she's confronting Yura. Every time there's a major battle move, they're dressed in white. And
That's a good observation.
I think, ooh, it just gives me chills.
I didn't notice that, but that's a good observation.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if we were going to bring it up, but I felt like it needed to.
No, that's a really cute thing to notice because I didn't notice, but you're right. It's usually all in white. Why? Usually I wear black to be my armor, but white's a good choice too, I guess.
You know, something about we when we picture white, it relates to innocence, you know, purity. And I think it's an interesting color to choose when going into a battle.
I think it's almost like a snake dressed in white. You know, you get that like innocence, but then you got that bite.
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
exactly. Like it's a
Or
contrast.
you don't expect.
Exactly. Like it's definitely a contrast of some sort. I just would love to pick the minds of these designers.
So after we get the breakup scene, and she's free to do whatever she wants, she forms her revenge. And how does she do so, Courtney?
Ah, yeah. The epic revenge plot. This is phenomenal. I don't know if this is like one of my favorite scenes, but it's definitely one of my favorite moments from the series when she is eavesdropping on, not eavesdropping, but she overhears her sister and her stepmom talking, and she hears her sister say to her mom that she's never wanted a man more badly than Doguk. And it's in that moment, you can see it on her face, when she decides that she's going to go after Doguk herself. Because hurting her sister also means hurting her ex, who's in love with her. And it also means hurting her stepmom, who will go completely mad with rage when her daughter is not happy. And the fact that Doguk is completely on board with zero hesitation is so enthralling to me. Like, I literally just love this man.
I do love the simplicity of just basically her stealing the man that her sister likes. At the end of the day, it's basically that was the revenge in a way. But I also had a feeling it could have been no other man, but he was the only one with enough power and rank to save her at the end of the day, because while she was like a 20-something-year-old woman and she could fight back as much as she could, she didn't have the power to save herself the way she needed to be saved.
Or the connections.
So, and you know, it's okay to ask for help. I mean, most of this drama, she does do a lot of things on her own, but he's also there to help her. And for someone who was so abused and traumatized, it's not a weakness that I see in her. And so I feel like there's so many people that might call her a damsel in distress because she kind of already needs him to kind of save her. But it's okay to recognize that she's not where she needs to be, needs help, and he helps her, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I love that observation too. I really love that look on her and her personality.
Right.
And going from there, so once she decides what her plan is going to be, it's execution time. And I think her planning was absolutely fantastic.
So before we get into it, I don't know if I misunderstood or maybe you misunderstood, because I don't think he was there to meet her sister.
Yes,
because
he was.
But didn't the sister already mention once that she had a blind date with him and that he rejected her? Or he already rejected her once. So
it's mentioned later on that she was going after him and pestering him until finally he agreed to have a sit down with her because of some connection that her mom pulled.
Maybe I mistook them.
It's why Yura ends up showing up, because they were supposed to meet.
Okay. So she gets there first.
She does. She gets there first before her sister, and introduces herself. And you can see kind of on his face that he's surprised, but you can tell that he knows who she is. I mean, he even says her name. And it takes her back a bit because she wasn't expecting him to know who she was. But she rolls with it. She sits down and she goes, "Hey, I know you were thinking of marrying my sister, but I think you should marry me instead." And, ooh.
Look, I love, though, how she tries to make him, like, she's almost trying to be someone she kind of isn't. She's, like, being, like, a carefree, nonchalant, like, I'm here to do business and I'm not going to back down. But then you get these little moments where she's just like, I
Where
wasn't
he
expecting
rattles
him to
her.
do that.
Yeah.
He does. She tries so hard not to let it happen, but it's so cute that you get those like little moments of her being herself, and then because he's so intrigued with her at this point.
And you can tell from his face that he purposely is teasing her, and he's purposely trying to rile her up. You see that with when he whips out the hotel card. And he's basically implying, like, are you going to make it worth my while? He gets her all worked up. You can see she's, like, internally freaking out, only to walk into a room that is more of an office than a hotel room. Like, I love how he just, and this is something we see throughout the series, too, where he just loves to rile her up.
I love a teasing, playful man. Oh,
I do too, I know.
I will say this throughout the drama, but this guy is kind of like my dream man.
And the way he looks at her after, like, every single time when he riles her up and he gets her going, he just looks at her with just
but he
this
also brings out
dreamy look.
But he also brings out her little teasing, like, personality, too, like, where she doesn't have to be afraid of him, and she can kind of say what she wants, because she teases him right back, you know, when she gets over herself, being like, ugh, kind of thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love their dynamic.
I do, too. And then how cute she gets, like, little drunk, and he's just listening to her rattle, and he knows exactly what she's talking about, but she thinks he has no idea that she came back from the future. And I just love that she leaves this rich man money on the side of the table.
I know. Oh my gosh, his face was so hilarious.
I can't even.
And then we go from that, where she leaves him money for it was just hilarious. But we go from that to, you know, the next major scene. I think it's in the same episode. It is. It's in the same episode where she has to call on him to get rescued.
Oh my god, let's talk about this. So she comes home, the family's pissed that she spent the night out, and then sends her to her room, which is a heartbreaking scene when you realize, because she looks around her room and it's minimalistic, it's bare furniture, it's no personality,
No light.
No light. You see the tallies on the wall, and that's what just breaks my heart. And then you get this funny scene because he has to literally come rescue her, and so she has to call him, but those fuckers took her phone, all right? And let me just tell you, I would be SOL, okay, if someone took my phone, because one, I'd probably lose his card that he gave me, you know, his little business card, and two, if I programmed it into my phone, I ain't remembering it.
Yeah, no, I've had your cell phone number for over 10 years now, and still can't even give you 3 of the digits.
Your phone number is on our business, like, our, like, cell phone plan. I still don't know it.
Both of us would be totally doomed. But what I really like about this scene is with the lightheartedness we get, I like that they mix that in with some of the darkness that we also get in this scene.
I do love the way that they were able to do that, but it wasn't too much.
Yeah, exactly. It balanced each other out real well.
Right. And then, so she gets the phone call from these 2 kids, because her house is, like, on the sidewalk, so these kids are passing by. She tells them, I'll give you $10, give me your phone, make a quick phone call. She calls him, right? The way he answers, he's disgust.
It's that teasing, riling up her up. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. And the fact that this man was doing this in front of his own family.
I know the way he's like, I gotta go, what did he say? He's like, I have to go rescue my princess. Bye.
Yeah. And before that, but he was like, if you want me to rescue you, you have to say the magic words. You know, like, and he's doing that, and his family's just looking at him so weird.
But his face just looks like he's so in love already.
And he's having the time of his life. Like, and that's that, like you said, we love a teasing man.
Yeah, anyway, right. And so he saves her, and they go out to eat. And this is the ending of episode 2, the beginning of episode 3. So they go out to eat. Take it over.
I'd be happy to. So this is one of my favorite scenes. It's the end of episode 2, like you said, beginning of episode 3, but it is one of my favorite scenes. And I think it's because of how emotional and powerful of a scene it is.
I also want to add in how natural it seems.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it doesn't even seem like they're acting.
No, it doesn't. And exactly, that's exactly it. And so, like, we have Doguk, who, you know, the restaurant he takes her to is super fancy, and he orders her food, but she informs him that the only type of food she actually can eat is prepackaged food from a convenience store. And let me tell you, when I say my man doesn't even hesitate, he doesn't ask any further questions. He just takes her hand and takes her out of that place to a local nearby park, where he goes and he gets prepackaged food from a convenience store. And it's here when she dives deeper into her issues with eating, and we find out that someone in her household, when she was a child, tried to poison her.
Yeah, we all know who poisoned her.
And oh yeah. And the look on this man's face when she's telling him this, I was tearing up. Like, you can see he's completely devastated on her behalf, and he looks like he's about to cry himself.
I think the first time you get him showing just how much he's in love with her, even at that moment. This is like the second episode. They've met each other all of like 2 times, but this is where you kind of find out something's a little bit, I want to say,
Something's off. Something, yeah.
Because the emotion is just so intense. And don't get me wrong, figuring out someone has been poisoned when they were younger and then have the trauma is heartbreaking in itself. But is there something about the way he looks at her?
You do not look at someone like that unless you're completely in love with them.
Right.
You just don't.
And then, you know, she tells him at that moment she wants revenge. And I love the fact that she's as honest as she can be. Like, she doesn't tell him she's back from the future, but she tells him, I want revenge. She doesn't hide it. She doesn't keep it a secret. And I absolutely love that. And here's the thing where I feel like he didn't care about what she wanted, because he knew that she wanted something. And it's not the fact that he didn't care, it's the fact that he was willing to take whatever she said and do it anyway. Like, she could have said she wanted to kill her whole family, and he would have been like, okay, that's what you want?
He'd be down.
I'll do it, because all he wanted was her. And this is what I mean when he said he doesn't care but cares at the same time. Like, it sucks that she had to go through that, and he hates that she had to go through that, but he was willing to do anything for her at that moment.
Oh yeah. And again, just dream man. Just utter dream man.
I know.
Like, and the way he grabs her around her waist and pulls her in for, like, did I skip? I went.
Before we get into that, can we just talk about the way he proposes to her first? Like, he doesn't have a ring. He gets a flower and wraps it around her finger, and then gets down on one knee. Oh my god, the romantic feels. And then he tells her to show him her answer. And it was so cute and obvious that he was just kind of expecting a hug. But she kisses him. And I'm like, I was honestly shocked that her first instinct was to kiss him.
I know. And the way he grabs her around the waist and pulls her in for a much more deeper and passionate kiss, stating that the first kiss wasn't enough and proceeds to literally ravish this woman.
Yes.
Oh my god. 10 out of 10 for this scene. The passion, the intensity, the setting, the fact that there is nowhere anywhere near being a fish kiss. Thank you.
These K-dramas providing actually involved kisses on both parties,
we thank you.
is amazing. I do
We
love
thank
it.
you. It is seen and it is appreciated.
100%. And then can we also appreciate that he also called the tabloids to make sure that they were photographed so that he wouldn't have to, like, back out of the marriage, or he has the media on his side.
I love it. I love
Forward
everything about
thinking,
this man. Everything about this man I love. And then, speaking of how much I love this man, another thing that he does, and we start seeing it in episode 2, but we see it throughout the series, where he cooks for her. And oh my gosh, when I tell you, my heart just melts every single time he cooks for her.
Why is it so hot when a man cooks, though? Like,
It just in general, it is. But the
Right?
fact that he does this and goes out of his way to not only cook for her, but only use prepackaged material, to stock his kitchen and his home for her with all prepackaged ingredients, all because he's worried she's not eating enough actual, like, sustainable meals.
No, I
My
agree with you.
heart.
No, I think what made this like especially special is eventually, and I don't remember the episode that it was, but there was one episode like later on after he's been cooking for her for a while where she actually takes the first bite without him having to take the first bite because he taste tests it for her every single time. Because I don't remember him using 100% prepackaged meals, but I do remember him tasting the food first or tasting her portion first to make sure she knows that it's not poison. And then the first time she tastes it without him having to do that, it was such a monumental moment.
It
for
was.
them.
It was a big
so
moment.
cute.
They showed, it was a quick scene where they showed all the prepackaged ingredients. But yeah, he still goes out of his way to taste his own cooking. And not just his own cooking, but the few times where they've had to go out. Or even like when he was eating in her home, talking to her mom, her
Right.
dad and stepmom, he purposely switched their meals.
I noticed that too. I saw that and I was like, damn, he's so attentive. Love it. And so their relationship progresses, okay? And then we get to the wedding.
The wedding.
Okay, but before we talk about the wedding, can we first talk about how, one, they went to the same bridal shop that she went with her ex-fiancé, all right? And two, the look of enrapture on this man's face when he saw her in her wedding dress.
I know.
It was such a stark difference from her ex who was on his phone.
So
Didn't even hear.
different. So different. And I actually love that. I love that we got the same scene with the two different men to literally compare side by side.
All right? And we know there's no comparison.
Zero. None.
But then we get to the wedding scene. And look, I know she was going through a lot of stuff at the time of the wedding. And I know that she probably essentially had a breakdown. But I have to say, I kind of wish she sucked it up a little bit more. Like, I know it sounds harsh, but it almost looked like she was going to a funeral. And I had forgotten what she had found out right before the wedding, so I completely understand her breakdown. It was just, she's supposed to convince all these people that she was marrying the love of her life. At least that's what they kind of portrayed it to everybody as. And she didn't really look like that. But I don't know if anyone questioned it either.
So, I think the bombshell that she found out right before was...
Was it that she was his biological child?
No, that was
No.
later on.
Okay.
It was that... Was it?
Was it that she was selling? No.
They knew
Selling
her biological mom. I think that was
Okay.
it. She found the picture in her grandfather's, or the grandfather gave her that picture.
Oh, no, it was, I think it was, she found out that her mom had tried to kill her when she was young with the fire.
That's what it was.
Right,
You're right.
right.
That's what it was.
She tried to kill her. So, damn, she killed her
So-
twice. Almost.
She,
twice.
she tried. She tried. Actually, technically 3 times if you think about it. But
That's true.
I understand why she was so upset, but I also wish that there was a bit more happiness in that moment. I feel like in this moment, it's the first time we see where she's been so strong with combating her stepmom. It's the first time we see that her stepmom kind of like cracked some of that armor.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wish that her stepmom didn't have the power to take away the happiness from that day, you know?
You're right. I completely agree. I think, yeah, she cracked her armor. That's the best way of saying it, honestly.
Yeah, and on top of it, too, even if that hadn't have happened, I wonder if she even still would have allowed herself to feel happiness that day, because she does, and I mean, at this time, she does have such severe trust issues with men and marriage.
Right. I don't think so much I wanted her to actually be happy. I wanted her to put an act up so
A
everyone
better
could
one.
tell she was happy, right?
Yeah.
On a complete side note, though, she looked freaking gorgeous
She
on her
did.
wedding day. And I love at the end of the wedding, she's looks like she's crying a little bit, but she's also like smiling big and happy, and she looks at her stepmother, and you hear her monologue, "I am coming after you. Be
Oh, so
prepared."
it was so awesome.
So epic.
So epic.
I loved it. It was a cute little declaration, and it just like kind of put her back together a little bit, I think. You
Yeah.
know? So typically after a wedding, you get the honeymoon.
I
And apparently she went off on her honeymoon by herself.
loved it. I love how she just decided that she literally left a post-it note saying peace for a few days.
Yup.
And what I literally loved even more was that our homeboy went chasing after her.
Oh my god, yes. He saw her note and ran to her. Like,
It was incredibly adorable.
but like that act alone showed her that one, he's really not kidding about his feelings, and two, that he is showing up, that he will be there by her side and on her side always.
Can we agree that I feel like this moment between them was a moment where things felt like it shifted?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think she finally realized how sincere he was and how his actions have constantly proved that.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And then what else do you do on your honeymoon, Courtney?
And then we move into the bedroom scene where she at first breaks down crying. And how it's such an emotional scene because she tells him that she basically can't ever love him the way that he wants her to love him.
Or the way that he deserves, really.
The way that he deserves, yeah. The way that he deserves because she can't trust anyone enough to love someone again. And the way that he's like, that's totally okay. That's fine. I'll love you enough for the both of us. And the way that he's like, you can use me however you want. Take everything from me. Like, I literally turned into a puddle. And side note, as a fellow woman who has severe trust issues, I too feel that if a man said those literal exact words to me and actually meant them, it would also magically cure all of my trust issues instantaneously as well.
No, I agree. And then the way he helps her forget. First of all, he was so gentle and reassuring with her. And then you have the passion of him ripping his shirt off and the watch off. And those, him saying you can use me however you want, maybe your quote, but the fact that he was just like, I can't hold back anymore. Like he was ravenous for her. I turned red. I watched that scene.
And we typically don't get a scene like this in Korean dramas. We just don't.
That's a very adult scene.
And I am totally 1000% here for it.
It's because we're American.
But yeah. But can we talk about the major, and I mean major bombshell that they drop on us at the end of this episode? Which is when we see his wrist for the first time. And I didn't realize that up to this point, he's always had his wrist covered with a watch.
Yeah.
But in his frenzied, passionate moment, he not only he rips his shirt off, he also throws his watch off. And it's in that moment where we see that he too has an expiration date on his wrist.
I'll be honest, if they did not zoom in on the wrists,
I would have never seen it. I would have never seen it. Would have never. And you know what? I don't even know if I saw it the first time because I still was replaying the scene of him hawking it out.
Intensity and passion, but
I was reliving the shirt ripping and
no.
Oh,
The way he says I can't hold back. Oh, okay. We gotta stop.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna stop. But back to the watch thing. I think that was a really smart move to hide it with the watch. And I know that it's revealed to her later that he's also back from the future or back from the past. But here's the thing. I'm not too upset that he hid it because
I'm
one,
not
she needed
either.
it from him too, but two, I really do think she needed to trust somebody completely and unconditionally to like,
I think she spooks easy, and
yeah,
I think personally, knowing that he also came from the future, I think it would have spooked her.
yeah, and I think it also would have made her trust him less in a way. I
Yeah,
think,
that's what I
you know.
mean. Is like, yeah, absolutely. I don't think. I personally think he went about it the correct way. I
I do
think
too.
if he would have been upfront and from the get go, I have a feeling that she would have never really trusted him or grown to trust him like she has in this.
I feel the same way. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So their relationship is becoming deeper, and we didn't mention this before, but the mother didn't really like her in the beginning, but then slowly warmed up to Iju as a stepdaughter. And once she warms up to Iju, she takes her under her wing and goes so far as to go head to head with the stepmom, Iju's stepmom.
It's awesome. It's so awesome. I personally love the relationship that develops between these two.
Yes.
His mom sits back, like you said, and observes the entire situation, sees with her own eyes what's actually been going on with this poor girl, and decides to just take her in. Like she's now her daughter. And she becomes that strong, protective mom that Yiju always wanted and frankly deserved.
I agree. I appreciate that she actually got one strong parent in her life that was willing to fight for her because she never had that before. I know that she eventually meets her birth mom, but like right now, all kids need parents, and I'm glad that Dogok's mom fulfilled that role for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But it was so epic the way the stepmom just fought the other stepmom. Oh, battle of the wits, man.
And again, those epic battle scenes, what are they wearing?
White.
It's just such a contrast. So moving on to one of our next favorite scenes is the scene where she not really like meets her birth mom, but finds out that her teacher, her cooking teacher, is her birth mom. So what a plot twist. I knew this character would become important somehow because of the way she kept kind of reappearing, but I totally did not see this coming. I was happy to find out that her mom just didn't give her up, that she has genuine love for her daughter.
But I do love the scene that they show us because I think it's so real. First, I want to know why the heck her mom's dad or her grandpa told her mom that her child was dead. Like,
Disgusting.
that makes no sense to me, but whatever.
They didn't
But
want her to have a child out of wedlock. So you're going to just tell her that her baby died? Like,
and
so messed up.
see, the funny thing is though, is with the meetup, I love that they talk about their feelings, but I kind of side with the mom a little bit more. Now, that's not to say that Yuju's feelings aren't valid. Like, she has a right to be angry and upset and things like that. But, like, sometimes we have to remember that our parents are human and they get scared and they get afraid. And she doesn't know her daughter. She doesn't know the life her daughter lived. All she knows is she's born, or she's with these two parents who are, rich and powerful, and she assumed that she would be living a good life. And she doesn't know she's had such a neglectful life. So she's just like, okay, I don't want to ruin this. Let's go in slowly. But then Yiju's like, you could have come save me. You could have come got me. But at the same time, like, I don't know.
I agree with you fully. I think her mom didn't even know that she was alive until her own
Right.
father told her on his deathbed. And then even when she found out she was alive, she didn't have any way to find out how to contact her. Like,
Right. And how do you, like, come out of the woodworks and be like, oh, you're my real daughter. I thought you had died. And you assume that she's living a good life with two nice parents.
Exactly. Like, so I think Yijo is just so...
emotional at that point.
Yeah, and again, she has a very...
untrustworthy personality.
Right. For good reason.
Yes.
So I think a lot of the anger comes from just, she started to trust this woman, and this was such a shock and such out of the blue that her anger is valid. I think it's just not... I don't think a lot of that anger is at her mom. I think a lot of it's just at the situation.
So yeah, I really love that she was able to meet her birth mom, and her birth mom's actually a good person, and they form a very, very good relationship, later on throughout the episode.
I am happy that was able to come about. But speaking of mothers, the next scene that we have on our list is the scene where the stepmom and the half-brother both get arrested.
Right, okay. Let's start with the stepmom. She got what she deserved.
1,000%.
And I really want to know how this guy never snitched on her for attempted fire, arson, murder.
I'm shocked, too.
Like, I thought that he would be 100% paid out by Doguk to tell him the truth.
Yeah. No, I was shocked. I was shocked that he hasn't come in the picture prior to this moment either.
He was in jail.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. But, so yeah, that makes sense.
But can we just love how he was smart enough to record their first conversation with each other?
So smart. Like, he's like an evil genius kind of slime.
He's a dumb evil genius.
Yeah. I take it back. I don't really he did a smart move in this moment.
Right. Well, let's not give him too much credit here. He did one smart move. But, no, I love how but her first instinct when she was driving down that road and she saw Iju in the street was gun it.
To kill her. To gun it. Again, for the third time. Not even in this child's life, but since she was of creation, of being in a womb, this woman has tried to kill her again and again and again. And the fact that she, with no hesitation, and there was so much glee on her face as they were approaching. It was horrifying. Like like an awesome villain scene. She portrayed it so well, but it was horrifying and shocking. And then on top of it, when we have Daguk coming out of, nowhere, seeing him come from one direction, them coming from another, with Yijo in the middle of the road.
Okay, why was she in the middle of the road?
She was crossing the road to get to the nursing home on the other side.
I thought she was already on the side of the nursing home. I don't know why she was standing in the middle of the street. It looked like it seems like there was no sidewalk.
You know what? You might be onto something. I'm not too sure why.
They had to further the plot somehow. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess. But what an epic scene. And again, we do have a similar situation to Marry My Husband, but it does feel different. Like, so we have this scene where he throws his car and essentially himself into the line of fire to prevent the other car from hitting Yijo. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, in Marry My Husband, we have a very, very similar scene.
We do.
If there's any... This is the only... Let me rephrase it. This is the only time where I have actually felt a similarity to the other one, if that makes sense. Yeah, they go back in time. Yeah, there are similarities, but I felt like there's been enough difference in those similarities where it hasn't felt too similar, if that makes sense.
Right, but here's the thing, too. As a person who's read a lot of these, like, reincarnation, like, manhwas and novels and isekai novels and things like that, all the Korean ones die by car crash or getting hit by a truck.
You know what? Yeah, you know what?
It's not...
You are onto something with that.
Every single one. I mean, let me tell you, when I was in Korea, these truck drivers drive everywhere. Like, they drive through the little alleyways everywhere. It's not surprising.
Actually, I think I can name at least 2 other Korean dramas where a similar situation has been set up.
Not surprising. But the way he just goes for it, he just is like, not today.
No hesitation. And then the fact that he stumbles out of the car, like, you can tell he's a bit disoriented. Like, he's just been in a freaking crash.
Right.
But he doesn't hesitate at all to get to her.
And I love it. But I think one thing that I love most about the stepmom getting arrested is...
I know what you're going to say.
when she was getting actually arrested, and 2, when she's at the police station, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what did you think I was going to say?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the scene where she tries to flee from the cops and they take her down.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that scene. Yeah, she tries to run. Like I said, I have to give it to the villain. Like, she tries. She tries.
She does.
She tries to run. And then, so they take her into the police station, and she's got Yeju, Duguk. The manager, who's the artist's son. Bit of a fun twist there. And then I love that her birth mom comes in and is like, I'm getting my justice.
I know. What a powerful move, too. Again, we are surrounded by such badass women. Like, I absolutely love... I just love how the women are portrayed in this drama. I do. Even the villains are...
I do, too. But, like...
badass.
I love that even though the women are portrayed as, like, strong, independent females, I do love how they don't make the men seem less than.
You know what? I agree with that 1,000% because of some of the Asian dramas we've watched, I feel like the few times where we have had a strong woman, and I can think of several at the top of my head, the men that they are usually paired up with are almost made humorously
Demasculized.
Like it's like a trope. It's like they're humor kind of sidekick type of situation,
right.
Where it is it's they just do it so well in this.
I think that's what I was trying to say in the beginning, that with the mom and her husband and things like that.
But like,
that's what I meant.
One example that comes to mind of I think what you're talking about is strong woman Kim Bok-soo.
We have to do that drama eventually.
I love it. I know. I absolutely would love to cover it. But that is a great example of where you have these strong women and then kind of a demasculized, humorously submissive type of male
just support
partner.
Husband.
But again, you don't.
But he's not like, I get it. He's not.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
I feel like that's a perfect example of what you're trying to say is like in this series where you have Do-guk, like Do-guk is an equal partner to her. Mm-hmm. You don't, but sometimes when you get the strong woman trope, you don't have an equal partner.
Right. And they still allow the men to be equal to them,
Yeah.
even though they have the strong women.
Exactly.
But no, I loved how everyone was just against her, and she got her, what's the word I'm looking for?
Comeuppance?
No. She got her due justice. She got her
there
due.
You go.
She got her due justice, is what I was trying to say.
Gotcha.
So the stepmother being arrested, amazing. Great job. Loved it. Moving on to the stepbrother being arrested. I don't know if I really wanted to include this plot in, or wanted them to include this plot in, because I know that it happens in the webtoon. I almost felt like it was a little bit rushed.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that maybe they drew out the stepmom a little bit better and had her be the kind of final villain. But I guess they had to get rid of the stepbrother too, or half-brother too, eventually.
Again, it's kind of like how I felt with Marry My Husband when they brought in the main male lead's ex-fiance. Yeah. Where I'm like, I get why they brought him in. I get it. But
was it necessary?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. So honestly, that's kind of why I skipped a lot of my notes with him because I just kind of...
Yeah, I kind of...
He wasn't the main villain
to us.
to us.
But he was a villain. But, like,
He
I
was.
get it. I mean, he did
He
get
was
pretty
more
far.
of a villain. Yeah, and he was more of a villain than Yura. I mean, he almost freaking killed the Gook, so...
True.
I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I kind of feel like...
The funny thing is even though I read the webtoon, him doing what he did, because like I said, I don't 100% remember, it kind of shocked me in how quick it happened. Like, it suddenly they were all happy, her mom got arrested, and he's going to work, and she's going to stay home, and then she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree with you.
How,
but you want to know what my real issue with this scene is? Not her opening the door. Mind you,
Did she open the door, by the way?
She did.
Okay.
She was expecting a food delivery.
Now,
mind you, he looked kind of sus to me, but whatever.
That's true.
My main issue is with Doguk's secretary / brother-in-law. He calls Doguk. Doguk is at home with his wife where he can protect her, and the secretary calls him up and is like, I have something serious I need to talk to you about. Come, leave your house, leave your wife, and come meet me at the coffee shop down the street. Only to tell him at the coffee shop, like, yo, I think you're in danger. I think
I never understood this trope where they're like, I need to meet with you in person and tell you something, and it just tells them you're in danger. You could just tell me.
You could have told me that over the phone, man. My wife's at home alone. Who do you think is the most in danger at this point?
Like, literally almost felt like he was working with the brother to get him out of the house.
For a second there, like, you dumbass. What the fuck? Like, you couldn't be like, come bring your wife at least. Like, no, I have to talk to you in person. Me and you alone. Exactly. Only to be like, the moment he realizes he's out there, like, he just leaves. Like, I literally had to rewatch this scene. Like, rewind it and rewatch it the first time I saw it. Because I'm like, this man, tell me this is not it. Tell me he didn't just call him down here to be like, yo, you're in danger.
And this is right after he finds out she's pregnant.
Right. And I know the secretary doesn't know that, but he knows that he has a woman at home, and what's the best way to hurt Doguk? It's not to go after Doguk. It's to go after his freaking wife, man. Like, are you kidding me? That's where my irritation, seriously came in. Her answering the door for a man all in black who couldn't see his face clearly, sus.
Just tell her.
But maybe that's
food by the door.
Right, or maybe that's the American in us. Maybe things are a bit safer over there. I don't know. But here in America, we don't answer our door regardless if we can see a face or not.
Even if we know the person sometimes.
You leave it. If you order DoorDash, it is no contact delivery, my friend.
Right? Exactly.
But so.
You know, the stepbrother gets rearrested. Finds out that his mom did abandon him.
And now has attempted murder charges on his head. Like, a good job, my friend. You made things so much more worse for yourself.
Right. But the one thing I will say is I do love the dad providing him attention to the situation. Like, he actually goes to the jail, talks to his son, has a man-to-man conversation with him. I do appreciate that. That's the only thing that came out good
too, because you know what? At the end of the day, that is still your son.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that so much, especially when you flip it over to what happens to Yura and how it seems like the family just dips on her. Like, there's no clear communication through it with her dad whatsoever on their situation at all.
Right. Let's get into Yura's baby, because this is another freaking moment that we need to discuss. So, I love that she gets pregnant with Hisuk's baby.
Oh, I think it's absolutely
so genius.
Karmatic justice at its finest.
She gets pregnant, right? And she tries to go to the half-brother's house, which is Digok's family's house, to take care of her, because she was living in his apartment until the child was supposed to come out.
His hotel room.
But because he got rearrested, they stopped paying for the hotel room, as far as I'm wondering. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to move in. You have to take care of me. This is, your grandchild.
Yeah. I love it. I love the setup of this. First off, the fact that his family was like, yo, bet we will absolutely take in the child if and only if that child is related to us. And I love how they are firm on the requirement for a paternity test.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it goes over Yura's head, but they did say, like, they made it very clear, like, we'll take the kid. We're not taking you. I got that very clearly from
100%.
Grandma and Mama. And on top of that, too, I just love how ingenious it was for the writers to have history literally repeat itself with Yura. Because what we're seeing is Yura's mom got pregnant with her by another man so she could trap the man she wanted into marriage using a child that wasn't biologically his. And now we have Yura essentially trying to do the same thing. Where she got pregnant, she knew it was Sehuk's. She absolutely knew whose baby that was.
Okay. Yeah.
But because she didn't want to be with him, she wanted to be with the richer, more powerful man. She was going to try to do the same exact thing her mother did.
But this
and when
time,
that doesn't... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. But this time, the family was smarter and required a paternity test.
I was so shocked to learn that that was never a thing that came up with Yura's dad and his family, with how the situation occurred. I was just so shocked that they never once questioned the legitimacy of the kid. You know?
Yeah, I don't really know why either.
They just took her word for it. Even though they knew that the grandfather was not, he made it clear he was not okay with their partnership, that he was not approving of the marriage. Like, he didn't give his blessing for the marriage. And all of a sudden she comes back and she's pregnant. Like, no one suspected anything. That was just very weird to me.
Maybe paternity tests weren't really big back then.
Could be.
I don't know.
I just found it curious. But, yeah, no, I love that she ends up stuck with Sehuk.
Yeah, Sehuk.
Sehuk, thank you.
I think so, Sehuk.
I love it. And I love even more that he gets stuck with her. So, like, he could have had it all. He literally had the woman. He had the life. He could have had it all. But no, he kept wanting and pining for this horribly bad person. And you know what? You got her. Congratulations.
Be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the one thing this is a little bit unclear. She finds out she's actually not Han Ji-won's biological child.
Yes.
And no one else figures this out. But in the webtoon, he does. They end up finding out that she's not his biological child.
This gets me even more furious because, again, going back to the original reasons why I couldn't stand this man, they tried to give him a redemption arc because he felt so guilty about the way he treated Yiju, thank you. But they're completely missing the point. So the kid you actually did raise your whole life, you're just done with? Are you kidding me?
Like, how does he just turn off the feelings? Like, this was somebody you considered a daughter, and then suddenly, one day, she's just not.
And that's what I have issue with, because it's not made clear in the drama. And this is where I had a lot of issues. And I'm so glad you read the book, so we had at least some resolution with this. This is there was two main issues I had, and they're tied together. Mm-hmm. It's the unclear ending we have with Yura regarding her family. All we know is that she is pregnant, and she's trying to get in with Daguk's family. And when that doesn't work, she goes to Sehuk. And she literally calls this place hell on earth. Like, she doesn't want to be there, but she literally says she has literally nowhere else to go. That's weird, because we haven't seen any scene where she's been kicked out by her family. The last scene we have with them together with her and her family is when he's kicking her mother out.
Right.
He didn't kick her out. But then it's made very clear to us that she isn't able to go home. So we have one or two options. One is her father's not happy with her being pregnant outside of marriage. Or two, he did somehow find out that she wasn't his biological kid. Either way, either option shows me that this man truly has not learned a single lesson, which just pisses me off.
No, I agree 100%.
Yiju deserves so much better. And to keep a man like that in your life, who only loves you because literally you're blood to him,
Right.
that's not love. And that it's just not. It just gets me so mad that they try to give this man a redemption arc, and he hasn't learned a single thing. He hasn't learned a single thing, and we see that with the way he's treating Yura. Yura is a horrible person, don't get me wrong, but she is your daughter, and she turned out like that because of the way that you allowed her to be raised.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is it's not just, with Yura. It's when he re-meets his ex-girlfriend, basically Iju's mom.
Yeah.
And the one thing I could never, ever get behind was Iju's mom was like, I forgive you for doing what you did because I have no say in it. I'm like, yes, you do. You are her mother. Mm-hmm. You have every right to be angry at a
He
parent.
abused your child.
Yeah. Even though she wasn't your biological child, or you thought she wasn't your biological child, you abused a child. Like, I don't think
a child that you decided to adopt. I don't care if you were forced. I don't care.
I don't
you
either,
took it on. You took that responsibility on. If you couldn't love the child, then you could have at least given her the decency to protect her. Because no child deserves to be abused.
None.
No one deserves to be abused.
Right.
And that's what I get so infuriated with, is that this man, with the actions we see taken with Yura, I think it's very clear that he has not learned any lessons. And that just, I don't know, there's something about that where it infuriates me that all's forgiven with the dad. And he hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, we realize that it doesn't matter. He's okay with hurting people in general. He's just not okay with hurting his own blood. But anybody else is fine. It's fine. It's okay.
And everyone else
that's what it is.
And everyone else got such satisfying endings. And I was not satisfied with his. I think she let him off too easy. I think I can go into the deeper messages that I don't like that this portrays when it comes to adoption and children and stepchildren and like children not being blood related. I mean, I could go into a whole thesis on this man and this ending.
Yeah, we'll get into that in like the closing remarks and things like that. But so Yura's baby, honestly, icing on the cake. It was so poetically justice, honestly.
Yeah. It was absolutely.
And that kind of leads us into the ending scene where they have a happy ending and they get married and they have a baby. Well, they were already married, but I mean with feelings now. And they had a baby and she has a family she's always wanted. It's so nice.
It is a nice, beautiful, sweet ending. But again, not to harp on this, I feel like with the way they left things with the dad and the way that adoptive children have been portrayed in this, I feel like a lot of my frustration that's left over from this drama would have been resolved if Iju had adopted a child herself. Because I feel like she's been through it. She knows what it's like to be in a family that doesn't want you. So I feel like it would have made sense for her to bring in an adoptive child and show that child love and care and what a relationship should be like with a child you adopt. I feel like that they really missed the mark here.
I think think so too. I think with her personality, she would have totally loved an adopted child and gave it the best life she could possibly give it.
My view on this is that they went in and they spent this whole time showing us the effects that Yiju has now, the traumatization that she's gone through and the effects that she has now in her life due to the abuse she faced from her adoptive family because she was adopted. They spent this whole time showing us how badly she was treated. And then they had this great opportunity to rectify that with the next generation, and they didn't. And it was really disappointing to me.
It was a missed opportunity, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think she adopted any children in the webtoon originally, but things changed for drama, so they could have totally added that in. And I feel like that would have been a nice twist.
Absolutely. I think so, too.
So that just brings a wrap up to the ending scene of Perfect Marriage Revenge. So now we're going to talk about the similarities and differences between Marry My Husband and Perfect Marriage Revenge. So, like, I get what people are saying. I truly think that, you know, while there are some similarities, you know, the going back in time, the getting revenge, the whole death by car crash, I like to think they're in two separate categories. Because, while Marry My Husband, her main goal was to change her fate. She would have ended up with the same situation happening if she did not pass her fate onto other people. You know, this girl, like, she took her revenge and she changed her fate. This one was more of a, I get a second chance at life. I'm going to do things differently. But there was no knowing what was going to happen in the future that was set in stone. Like, with Marry My Husband, there was things set in stone that she made happen. With this one, she just knew that was going to happen, but she didn't know how it was going to affect the future if she changed what she changed. And she was okay. She's like, you know, if we go past our expiration date, we're just going to die. Like, we get a second chance and we're going to live it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like the main difference is, like you said, Marry My Husband is all about, it revolves all around the fate. You know, she's also focused on getting that revenge, don't get me wrong, but it's the fate. You know, fate plays such a big role in that series, and it decides everything they do, how it plays out, whereas we don't get that in Perfect Marriage Revenge. Fate has nothing really to do in Perfect Marriage Revenge. Like you said, this was like a second chance at life. So you have Marry My Husband, which is all about fate. Perfect Marriage Revenge was all about second chances. And so that being said, I do feel like they're both completely different enough that I get a serious enjoyment out of watching both of them. I don't feel like I don't feel like either version feels copied in any way. I know that there was a lot of online talk about how, because both of these series came out around the same time, and so there was a lot of online talk that one must have copied the other. I don't necessarily agree with that.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I was watching a copy of a copy.
No, neither did I. Not once. I feel like I was watching two completely different dramas. Are there similarities? Absolutely. But like you said, there are similarities in a lot of dramas, and a lot of Korean dramas. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they were uniquely different enough where they can stand confidently apart from one another.
Yeah, so, like, I won't ever think of a scene from Perfect Marriage Revenge and be like, oh, that could have been from Marry My Husband. Like, none. Like,
None.
I know what was Perfect Marriage Revenge and what was Marry My Husband.
Yep. I'm not getting the characters confused with each other. I'm not getting the plots confused with each other. Nothing like that. So
let's start off with our closing thoughts. And
closing time.
oh my god, we should make a little jingle. Close. I like that. Closing time. That's cute. Anyway, let's start off with the OSC first, because that Halo song,
it's a bop.
that plays at the end of the episodes. Mm-hmm. Right, it plays at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so great.
It is a bop.
I was jamming out to it.
Mm-hmm. Not gonna lie. And even the, is it called the intro that we get in every episode? Even that like, usually I skip those. I'm gonna be real with you. I'll watch it on the first episode and then skip it for the rest. Even the intro into this with that song, the imagery in it, the little hidden symbolism in it, like, it was fun to watch. Okay. So, Lael, that being said, what kind of rating would you give this series?
So I want to say, as much as I love this series, like, you know, I got the romantic, you know, aspect that I really, really wanted, or that I really love. Honestly, I'm a romantic person with dramas. I want to say this is a solid 8. And the reason why I didn't rate it higher is because, one, I kind of felt like the ending portion was rushed. Like, the half-brother situation was rushed. The sudden, we're all going to be family, love each other, was rushed. You know, they pushed for a happily ever after with, you know, them being married and having a child. I think at the end of the day, it felt too rushed for me to enjoy it. And they failed to address main issues. Like the dad saying sorry. He never once said he was sorry, and I don't like that. But I love the fact that her and her mom have a relationship, and cares for her, and has a really just good parent in her life. So a solid 8. What do you think?
I was debating for a while between an 8 or a 9, but I think I have to go with a solid 8 as well. I greatly enjoyed this series. I do think it was one of the better Korean dramas we have watched.
Right.
But again, my issues are with the way that they left the portrayal of adoptive children open. It's like
it left just a bad taste in your mouth for you to rate it any higher.
Yeah, it really, really did. For all the reasons I've already mentioned, I just can't get past it.
I think that's a fair assumption. Like, it really did piss me off a lot. Like, it made me really, really angry. So it's not so much against the drama, but so much against the dad as a character. So, okay. So solid 8 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And everyone, that is a wrap on Perfect Marriage Revenge. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please go follow us on Instagram at All the Drama Podcast. We would love to grow this drama addicted family. So, Lael, what are we watching next?
In the next episode, we are going to be talking about the Chinese drama Hidden Love. It is such childhood crush turns into adult love. I know that sounds a little weird. It's a total rom-com. You can stream it on Netflix. Be sure to watch it before you come listen to us, because we're just going to rant and ramble again about our favorite parts. So until next time,
happy drama watching.
Bye.
Bye.